Hi, everybody, and welcome to our Thanksgiving edition. My name is Roger Heitzig. For those of you who don't know me, I'm your club president for this year. We normally start off with happy bucks. I've got no rhyme, but Susie in the back has volunteered. So get your money out. We're going to see who raises more, Susie or Ryan.
Oh, Lord. Okay, I'm not so sure about this, but it sounds like a challenge and it's the holidays. So who's got the cash and who's got something happy to talk about?
Okay, I'm real happy to pull out my IOU from last meeting and pay it off and make sure that Ryan Thackeray knows about that.
So does that go to my credit or is that Ryan's? Does that payback go to Ryan's credit? Who's got some happy news? It's the holidays, people. Come on, we got something happy. Here we go, Wade.
November is Rotary Foundation Month. More to come on that in just a minute, but keep that in mind for giving back.
All right, who else we got? Here we go.
Happy to have Tyler Cox with us today for lunch.
Welcome, Tyler. Who else? Oh, here we go.
I am happy because I think most of you know I work with the True Line Project downtown, the new music venue coming downtown, and we have officially started construction. One of the folks that I work with on that project, Tabitha Skipper's here today as a potential new member, and she's already been helping Rotary. So welcome, Tabitha.
Yay, Tabitha. Who else has some more happy bucks? Happy bucks coming up.
Happy to have 2 kids and 4 grandkids here on the way for Thanksgiving.
All right. Who else we got today? Oh, just a second. The boss is calling.
That's fine. I'm happy because Clemson's going to beat Carolina on Saturday and make the college football playoff.
Do I have any challengers? No.
Happy because for the 12th year, we go to the in-laws for Thanksgiving and my wife doesn't have to cook, which makes her very happy.
That would make me happy too. Okay. I feel a challenge coming on.
Oh, no. Okay, this is for, I'm happy that Susie is doing happy bucks, and I'll be even happier when Roger is wrong.
Ooh. Okay. Who else we got? Any more happy bucks? Any more thankfulness? Thanks bucks. Anybody else? That looks like us for this morning.
Great. Thank you, Susie. Wonderful job. We'll have to count the money in your bucket. Speaking of buckets, I would like to see every bucket moving around the table. So somebody pick up the bucket. There's a bucket right there. There's your bucket right there. We need to get the buckets moving around the tables, please. Little money for cart. Jim gets upset if I don't remind you. There's something called Kringle that's happening next week. Y'all might have heard of it. You'll hear more about it later. And only other announcement I have, 2 weeks, Dr. Courtney Hartness from Furman University will be our guest speaker 2 weeks from today. So let us do our invocation and pledge. If you bow your heads. Today we pray that we may receive your special blessing because we are committed to be a real service organization to help humankind. May each of us in our daily routine come to know the joy of caring and sharing with others, not as fortunate as we are. And may our motto that includes serving, caring, and sharing be for us life service as well as lip service. If you'll stand for our pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Very good. And next we have Lisa's going to come up and talk about our guests. Might need to put that mic.
I know I'm a little shorter than you. So this is my first time doing this. I'm glad I'm doing it in a group full of friends. Okay, good afternoon. My name is Lisa O'Connell Hall, and I have the honor of introducing our guests today. When I speak your name, please stand and keep standing until all guests have been introduced. To our audience, please hold your applause until all guests have been introduced. So, guest Tyler Cox is the guest of Brian Little, Eric Hutchinson, Seth, these are the club guests. Eric Hutchinson, Seth Blanton, J.R. Schroeder, Mark Leonard, and Jonathan Kalau. Ooh, all club. And then Tabitha Skipper, who's been introduced but should be introduced again, is a guest of Marty Elliott. And that's it. Welcome.
Fellow Rotarians, I'm Wade Culp, and it's a privilege to be up here again on behalf of the Rotary Foundation. We were fortunate to recognize a number of new Paul Harris Plus Fellows at our last meeting, but I did want to take this opportunity to remind you about the joys and benefits of giving to the Rotary Foundation. It's a time of year as we approach Thanksgiving where we give rich thanks for our blessings. And I've made the point to this group before when speaking about the foundation to have been born in this country and to be living here with the incredible wealth and prosperity and material advantages we have is really to have won the jackpot on life. And it's our great blessing and I think privilege to be able to give back in support of others to raise up living conditions around the world. And that's exactly what the Rotary Foundation does. Nearly 92% of every dollar that you give goes straight to projects on the ground all around the world. And our Rotary Foundation has an impeccable record of integrity, 12 consecutive 4-star ratings from Charity Navigator. And when you think about our club's contributions to the Rotary Foundation, I have both great news and some challenging news for us. So let's start. I'll go through 3 examples of all that. So we have 128 active members in this club, and approximately 100 of them, or 77%, gave some amount of money to the Rotary Foundation. Now, on the surface, that sounds pretty good. And that is good news, and we should celebrate it. But actually, and here's the challenge, about half the clubs in our district have 100% of their membership, of their active membership, giving to the Rotary Foundation. So in other words, we have room to grow. Now, last year, again, for the annual fund of the Rotary Foundation, we raised $67,000 in this club. That is exciting. That is great news. But we have a handful of people who are really significant donors. And if we took out those top handful of donors, we'd probably be around about $40,000 in donations. And likewise, on Polio Plus, we raised about $26,000. But again, that's due to a handful of our very top contributors. And our contributions would probably be well under $5,000 if we took them out. And so the takeaway from all that is, while we are doing incredible work in this club, there is room to grow. And with everyone else doing just a little bit more, our contribution would be all that more incredible. And it would be all that more significant. And we wouldn't be relying on the generosity of just a handful of people, but we'd be maxing out at 100% of people who give to the foundation. So that's my challenge to you today. The baseline of giving in our club, as you all know, is the Paul Harris Fellow, which recognizes those who have given $1,000 cumulatively to the Rotary Foundation. Of course, you can get Paul Harris Plus points beyond that. And the good news is that our district is matching points and our club is matching points until December 31st. So if you cut a check for $500, you are now a Paul Harris Fellow or you at a Paul Harris Plus because the club will be matching that at 500 points. So it's a terrific opportunity. As you're giving thanks for your blessings around the table on Thursday, remember ways to give back. And the Rotary Foundation is a great way to do that. Thanks and have a great Thanksgiving.
You know, I'm really embarrassed because I didn't know Congressman Timmons was going to be here today. I stole this from his closet, so don't tell the law enforcement. FBI, I hope's not here.
Hi, Rotarians. We are here because our premier event of the year, Holiday Fair in Greenville Village, is happening when? next week. So we are excited. Let's see, show of hands, who has their tickets? I'm putting everybody on the spot. Who has their tickets? All right, that means there's room for growth is the theme of the day. $10 to get you in. You have a great family pack available. You have a weekend pack available. There is the VIP event of which we have one of our lovely co-hosts here. We have our tea. Oh, it's going to be enchanting. And we need volunteers. So I'm turning it over to the rest of the crew. You can do it.
All right. Hey, so everybody, on Thursday night at 5:30, we're doing the VIP party. This will be, oh, I thought you were telling me no. This will be the premier event in Greenville this year. It's going to be an elegant affair at the Greenville Convention Center. They're turning their ballroom into a winter wonderland. We have a jazz quartet. And after you do that and have a few drinks and enjoy some delicious food, we're going to leave that ballroom and go to the main ballroom. And a part of your VIP ticket will also be able to go to Mingle at Kringle and the party band Randomonium. So for a mere $150, you'd get to do all this, support Rotary charities, and I'll have a different outfit on. It won't be the Congressman's outfit, but it might have red sequins. I don't know. But anyhow, y'all, let's go. VIP. Enjoy me.
Right. You guys are all officially invited to join us for afternoon tea on December 6th at 2:00 at Kringle. So I'm so excited. This is the first event we've had here in Greenville like this. So a little bit of history. Afternoon tea's been around for over 200 years. It became a fast social favorite, a time to get together with friends, share stories, laughs, make memories, and share special savory and sweet treats. And you all get a chance to do that at the Enchanted Tea. So come with your entire family, or if you don't like them, come with your friends, or both. There's room for y'all. We've got something special. We're going to set the stage with a really pretty enchanted room, so you'll feel that real special feeling. So you guys just need to bring the special people in your life and come and enjoy, make memories. We have a special treat. Elizabeth Lyons, our fellow Rotarian, was gracious and donated many little precious teacups that belong to her great grandmother. They're over 150 years old. So we're going to have a silent auction at the event. You have a chance to take one of these wonderful things home and give to charity. So get your tickets and join us on December 6th.
All right. Okay, we only had 5 minutes and we have so many things to talk about. So we're just going to wrap it up by saying on your rack card there, you have a list of the activities. You've been hearing about this and all of our merry band of elves for all year. The elves work year round, and we want to make sure that we come out and we really understand that this is not about just this weekend. That's an important piece, but we'll be welcoming over 15,000 people, and we've had marketing that's gone out to over 62 publications already. This is a great lift for Rotary. I remember when I lived in this community many years ago, and I would take my children to the Roper Mountain Lights. That's how I got exposed to Rotary. And then many years later, I became a Rotarian. So we don't know what seeds are being planted now, the folks that will be exposed to all of the great service projects that Rotary does. So think about this for your family, buy tickets for your coworkers, spread the word. We have those rack cards in bulk for you to take and get them out this weekend. We need your support. We need your ticket buys. We appreciate the work that Jeremy and his group has worked to get together. How many volunteers do you already have in place?
We're about 90% full, so we probably have 300.
320 slots already full. Okay. This is Greenville's largest winter festival, and there's more to come. We're doing incredible things. The tea event, the VIP party, the pageant, a snowball fight arena. We promised that, and here it comes. There's Kringle Cash. You can sign up for that on the way out today. Pick up your things. Do your part. Thank you to all of you. We've called everybody to be sponsors, and we appreciate how you've leaned into this. So let's go, Rotarians. Let's have a big time at the Holiday Fair in Kringle Village.
A little hard to follow that downer of a group right there, but it's my honor to present the win. Oh, she's already nervous for standing up, but we have with us the Teacher of the Month winner, and it's Fallon Swafford. She is a 5th grade science and math teacher. So Roger, you're in trouble. She's going to talk about osmosis later, and you're going to be tested on that. We're grateful to have you with us from Alexander, and she didn't have peanut butter and jelly, so she had a little uptick. Thank you, Fabian, for the great food in the back. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's so good to see you all here today. It's a pleasure to be here and to be able to introduce our next speaker, who is, by the way, a former Rotarian, member of the Rotary Club of Greenville. So it's good to have you back. William Timmons entered Congress in 2019 with a commitment to bring real reform to Washington. His experience as a prosecutor and a small business owner inspired him to run for public office. As a state senator, he fought for accountability and transparency in Columbia. In Congress, William is a voice for upstate residents. As a member of the Financial Services Committee and the House Oversight and Accountability Committee. William is a lifelong member of Christ Church in Greenville and also serves as a JAG officer and captain in the South Carolina Air National Guard. Join me in welcoming Congressman William Timmons.
Good afternoon. It's great to be with you. Great to be back. It seems like yesterday I was coming to these meetings when I was at the solicitor's office, and I had a full head of hair then. So, you know, it was, times are different, much more simple back then. You know, it really has been an honor to serve in both the state Senate and in Congress for, it's hard to believe it's been 6 years. You know, I have served in some of the more tumultuous times in recent history, and we're doing everything we can to get the train back on the tracks. And I always talk about the swings in policy. I'm a business owner. I still own a development in Unity Park, and the swings in policy make it really hard to plan. It makes it really hard for businesses to invest. When interest rates go from 2.5% to 9%, when, you know, you can't hire people because we have workforce shortages, whatever the challenges are, we have done our best in Washington over the last 6 years to try to stop these wild swings in policy. And I'm doing that again. You know, the last 4 years have brought a lot of challenges. You know, the Biden administration ran on being a unifier, ran on being a moderate, and some of the policies that we saw, whether it's the southern border, whether it's reckless spending, you know, just all of these more extreme positions that we saw taken over the last 4 years, you know, I'm worried that we're going to go back the opposite way and continue these wild swings. So one of the big things that I'm working on is to leverage the relationships I've made, both with the incoming Trump administration, but also my friends in the House. You know, a lot of the House members are going into administration positions, and, you know, I'm going to be in a position that I have never experienced in my time in Congress because of the relationships that we have. Seth Blanton's here, our district director. He does incredible casework for constituent services. Is probably the most rewarding job, the most impactful part of the job. We've saved dozens of lives, whether it was during COVID or getting someone that was kidnapped in Mexico back. We've saved thousands and thousands of jobs, and we're able to get the government to do what it's supposed to do. So while he has done an incredible job, we have done an incredible job these last 6 years. Our ability to have impact will be even greater these next 4 years. I do also want to say something about this area. We are very very, very fortunate. Greenville Spartanburg proportionally is the fastest growing part of the country. More people are moving to Austin, but there are a lot of people already in Austin. So we are the fastest growing area in the country. And it's because of the policy, it's because of the ingredients, it's because of the environment that we have here in the upstate. And I've traveled a lot in the last 6 years to see different parts of the country, and other parts of the country are not experiencing the same prosperity. So that is something that I think we need to keep in mind. The next 2 years, or I joke, the last 6 years was like training wheels. I served in the minority and then in divided government. Getting things done in Washington is intentionally challenging, but it was particularly challenging the last 6 years. Going into united government with a very narrow majority in the House, the Senate, and the White House, there's an opportunity to create really generational change. And, you know, I think that the election was largely decided on the main three issues, which was the economy, immigration, and I'll say the term public safety, but I mean, you could take that in different areas of the country, but every campaign that I went to all around the country in the last 6 months, the number one issue was the economy, number two issue was immigration, and then public safety was number three. So the question becomes, what are we going to do? What are we going to do in January? And, for the economy, we have to get our spending under control. One of the biggest regrets I have of my time in Congress is that, and this is kind of crazy to think about. When I got elected to Congress 6 years ago, we had $18 trillion in debt. 18 trillion. In the last 6 years, we have doubled that. We are now at $36 trillion in debt. For the first time in our country's history, we will spend more on our interest payment on our debt than on our entire defense budget. It's really unsustainable. It's out of control, and it is largely to blame for government spending is largely to blame for the inflation that we're seeing, which is really probably the worst part of the last 4 years. I'm one of the millions of Americans that had planned to buy a house and move. And, when you got a 2.5% interest rate and you're looking at 8.5%, you're not going anywhere. So, I mean, we got government spending under control because of divided government coming in 2 years ago, but we need to continue to work on inflation to drive down interest rates, because we have to grow the economy in order to increase our tax revenue, which will then be able to pay down the debt. We're not going to be able to cut our way out of it. A lot of people are going to be talking about cutting this, cutting that. And realistically, we just have to have a larger economy, so we have a larger tax base, and then we have to slow the growth of spending while the growth of the economy outpaces that. And that's the path to solve that problem. There's going to be a lot of conversations around what that looks like. It's going to be very challenging. Reconciliation is a fancy term to remove the filibuster in the Senate. But in order to engage in budget reconciliation, which is the biggest tool next Congress will be using, you actually have to have offsets. So the Democrats spent $7 trillion in the last 4 years, and they used budget gimmicks to do that. Hiring 87,000 IRS agents, the Congressional Budget Office said will result in trillions of dollars in tax revenue. That wasn't really true. They knew that at the time, but so we cannot implement policies that are pro-growth, that are limited government policies without engaging in the same semantics. And we just can't keep going down this path, because we really are running out of time to get our financial health in order as a country. And so that's going to be top of list. Other thing is obviously going to be immigration. We were talking earlier about it. I find it very important that we speak about immigration in a compassionate, policy-oriented, logical way. It is unacceptable to have, at this point, we have 25 million people in this country that are not here legally. We had 15 million come in the last 4 years. And that's just unsustainable. So the question now becomes, what do we do? And we're having a lot of these conversations. Obviously, anybody that was a criminal when they entered this country, had a criminal history when they entered this country, any developed nation that has any kind of a sane immigration system is not going to allow that person to be here. So if you entered the country with a criminal record, you're probably going home. And if you entered this country illegally and then you committed a crime here, you are probably going home. And we're going to give these people the due process that they deserve from a developed nation that is trying to be reasonable. But I don't think that that is a big issue that is, again, trying to be compassionate, logical, policy oriented. I think that's very reasonable. So the next question is, that's probably going to be like 1.5 million people. So the next question is, well, what do we do with 23.5 million people? That's a big problem. And we're not going to deport these people. I mean, some of them, maybe that's a conversation we're going to be having. The best policy argument I've heard is to create a system. You have to fix immigration to create a merit-based system to allow people to come into this country, because we need millions and millions of people to move here in order to grow the economy, in order to fill jobs that they want, that American citizens don't necessarily aren't interested in. So if we fix the merit-based system and then we tell everybody that's here, you have 90 days, we're going to pay for you to go home and come back in the front door, apply for citizenship appropriately. But previously that was unreasonable because it took years and in certain cases, decades to immigrate here. We can't have that. So we have to create an incentive for people to self-deport to then come back legally through the front door with vetting. That's going to be the biggest challenge. And, you know, the devil's in the details there. I mean, the merit-based immigration system is not hard. Every developed country has a similar system, but we have to create that. We have to create the judicial branch to address all of these court cases. Right now, if someone entered the country illegally, they didn't even give them a court date because it was years away, 2-3 years away. So we have to fix all of that. And, you know, again, we have a narrow majority in the House. I try to be as reasonable as possible. We have some crazy people in the Republican conference. I'll tell you that right now. I mean, it is what it is. There's crazy people in the Democrat caucus too. So with such a narrow majority, it is going to be difficult because the loudest voices are going to be getting the most bandwidth in the media. And that's always been the case. But I mean, it's a challenge that we're having to come to terms with. You know, I guess the last thing is going to be social policy. The Republicans are going to trip and fall a few times in the next few months. Go ahead and tell you that. I would argue we tripped and fell last week when the only thing we heard about in the news was transgender this, transgender that. And, you know, I think it's reasonable that a person's biological sex should dictate which bathroom they go to. I think that's reason. But I also think that people that are engaging in surgeries and doing all of these things, I mean, it's just wrong to take someone that is in a very difficult place in their life and to be hateful towards them. And so I think we need to create laws that make it illegal for anyone under the age of 18 to engage in puberty blockers or sex change reassignments. Like if you can't vote, you can't serve in the military, you can't drink, you can't change your gender. It's just, these are common sense things that we need to address, but we have to do it in a compassionate way because again, the pendulum cannot keep violently swinging in all of these policies. We have to be thoughtful. We have to be reasonable. We have to try to thread the needle to address the underlying issue without being hateful. And that's easier said than done. And when you can take a position and raise $1 million on, you know, for your campaign because of your extreme position, that's a very intoxicating thing for people to consider doing. And, you know, I don't do that. I do my best to, again, be policy oriented and reasonable, but we're going to be struggling with that on both sides of the aisle. So, I mean, really, like I said, the first 6 years in Congress was just training wheels, and the training wheels are off. And we have a once in a generation opportunity to make reasonable changes that are pro-growth, that will help our country address its debt, that will secure our border, but also facilitate the flow of millions of legal immigrants into this country. And we got 2 years to do it. So, I mean, that's what I'll be working on. And I will do my best to stop the pendulum from swinging and stop the extreme positions that we always hear in the media. Those don't reflect either party in large. And, you know, I have a lot of friends on the other side of the aisle. We worked extremely well with like-minded Democrats whenever we could, because serving in divided government, you have to do that. And we're going to try to leverage those relationships to work through a lot of these policies. Some of them can require a majority vote, House, Senate, and White House signature, but immigration is going to be the biggest challenge, because you can't fix it. You can't fix prospective immigration. You can't change long-term immigration policies through the executive branch. You have to do that through legislation, which requires 60 votes in the Senate. So, you know, again, while we do have a majority in the House, the Senate, and the White House, the 60 vote threshold in the Senate is something that will have an impact on policy. And, you know, there's a lot of reasonable Democrats in the Senate that want to address some of these challenges. So we need to work with them wherever possible. That was longer than I'd planned. I'd really rather do more Q&A. I'm sure that'd be more fun with y'all. Yes, sir. Sure. So I think the biggest challenge is that there really hasn't been policy conversations. I mean, if you think about it, President Trump basically just railed on the fact that the Biden administration let in 15 million people illegally and spent billions and billions of tax dollars to give them things. I mean, it was just kind of crazy. So he talked about how bad that was. And, you know, just generally speaking, it's very easy for us. I think we can all agree that if you were a criminal before you got here, or you're a criminal once you get here, you don't deserve to stay. And so then again, how do you deal with everyone else that's here? And that really has not been articulated. And, you know, I generally articulated to you how I think it's probably going to play out, because we just physically can't deport 23.5 million people. It's just not possible. We're going to deport 1.5 million for sure. But the question becomes, what do you do with everybody else? So I think creating an incentive-based structure, but again, that requires having the prospective immigration policy fixed, because you can't tell people to self-deport. We will subsidize your self-deportation. Because by the way, when we deport somebody, it probably costs $250,000 a person. I mean, you know, you got to find them, you got to put them in, you got to detain them, you then have to house them, feed them, and take them to whatever country. All of that takes days, weeks, sometimes months. So we can't actually deport everybody. It's not possible, but you can incentivize them. And you have to fix the prospective immigration policy and make it reasonable for them to say, all right, if I leave and I come back in the right way, it's going to be a month. It's going to be 2 months. Because right now it's 5 years. So nobody's going to leave. So we got to fix it. And again, I think that a lot of what has been alleged about Trump's immigration stances for policy are not accurate. I mean, there's an article right now from the Milwaukee Daily Sentinel, something saying that he's going to deport 800,000 DACA recipients. That's just not going to happen. I mean, so one, legally it can't happen because of the way that President Obama gave them a bizarre status that isn't even legal, but it's been upheld. So, I mean, legally it couldn't happen, even if that was their plan, but it's not their plan. So, I mean, again, I am in a position to have conversations with the people that are developing these policies and try to be reasonable, policy oriented. But they're going to start day one securing the border in a manner that you can't even imagine. We'll give them money to continue the physical barriers. And look, I've been to the border 6 times. The physical barriers are only a part of it. You need technology, you need lights, you need cameras, all of these things that you know, every developed country has. And that's going to cost money, but it's relatively insignificant to the cost of not having a secure border. That was a long answer, but yeah, I think that we have a very good opportunity. I mean, obviously, Trump has already said he's going to impose a 25% tariff on Mexico and Canada if they don't secure their side of the border. You know what that did? The Mexican government immediately secured their side of the border, stopped all caravans going through Mexico. So like, he's not even in office yet. He has no authority whatsoever. He sent out a tweet and immediately action occurred from Mexico and Canada to stop the flow of fentanyl into this country, which has killed 500,000 Americans in the last 4 years, and stop the flow of illegal immigrants in our country. I mean, like, there are a lot of good things that are going to come from this, but he's going to continue to have people that misconstrue that. He'll give a 3-hour speech. They'll find a sentence in it and say, this is what he's talking about. I'm like, well, how did you get that from the 3-hour speech? But anyways, we're going to continue to have this the challenge with journalism. But I will do everything I can to try to make the policies reasonable, compassionate, and most importantly, fix our debt. Like, we have to get millions of people into this country because we have to grow our economy. We have to reduce interest rates to allow businesses to invest. We have to get the tax code right. And, everybody talks about tax cuts. It's about creating a competitive tax code that allows businesses in the United States to compete in the global economy. That's all it is. And when he talks about tariffs, all it is about giving us an even footing in the global economy because other countries are subsidizing their businesses to give them a competitive advantage. Sorry, that was a long answer. Yes, ma'am. So I was a prosecutor for 4 or 5 years, and there is evil in this world, but 95% of the people I encountered at the solicitor's office were not evil. The vast majority were suffering from mental illness or had some sort of mental health crisis that facilitates the homelessness, that facilitates the drug addiction. And a lot of that is healthcare driven. And I mean, we spend 4 times more than any developed country, and our outcomes are 3 or 4 times worse than any developed country. So, I mean, I get it. RFK Jr. is kind of crazy, but he's not wrong in a lot of areas. And I think that our healthcare is the other issue of debt that we have to address. We have to make our country healthy. And a lot of that is going to be drug addiction is a huge part of that. But I mean, I've always said that all drugs are bad. I mean, even drugs that you take for your health are bad because, inevitably diet and exercise is a solution to virtually everything unless you have a genetic condition or you've gotten hurt. But our society has grown dependent on drugs. And I used to use my dad as an example, but I use myself now. I was working out every day when I had the CrossFit gym, and I was probably working out twice a day, 5 days a week. And I was in the best shape of my life. I went and got a physical, and the doctor says, well, your cholesterol's not good. You either need to change your diet or take this pill. And I would bet 75% of Americans just take the pill. But I said, well, what do you mean my diet? And she said, what do you eat? I was like, I eat a lot of, I eat a lot of steak. And I was basically eating probably 12 to 16 ounces of red meat a day. And she was like, you probably want to do some fish, maybe some shrimp, Guess what? Did that. No cholesterol pill. So, I mean, I could have just taken the pill. And then after a few, years, probably need a blood pressure pill, probably need, another pill because I get IBS or something because a side effect of this pill. All of a sudden I'm taking 12 pills. And then I don't exercise because I get sad because I'm, and there's a pill for that. So you got 20 pills and that's just not, you don't have to be a doctor to know that is not good. And we need to change the way that we approach that. So again, mental illness is the product of underlying defects in our healthcare system. And I can't tell you how many people I saw at the solicitor's office that they got hurt and the doctor gave them 25 oxy pills, and then they ran out of them and they're addicted at that point. So what do? They go find somebody that's selling them illegally. And then all of a sudden they die from a fentanyl overdose. Like, what? This is all predictable. You shouldn't be giving people 30 oxycodone when they break a finger, or, we have to overhaul the way that we treat healthcare in this country. And I think it'll pay dividends there. Yes, sir. That was a great question. Okay. So, this is the thing. And I always, so when I was in Congress for the first 4 years, I led the effort to modernize Congress. So every 20, 30 years, we create a bipartisan group and we basically update best practice, use technology, everything. You can imagine what that would look like. We probably should do that every 5 years. But in one of the things that we did, there were 6 Republicans, 6 Democrats, and we had to have 9 votes to do anything. So it required bipartisanship, and we passed 203 recommendations. It's going to take time for all of them to be implemented, but serious change in the way that Washington works and the way Congress works. One of the things that I thought about a lot as we talked about all these different challenges and how to fix them was really what causes people to view their what causes people to develop their view of the role of government. And I mean, I think that at its core, the difference between Republicans and Democrats is their view of the role of government. Republicans want the least amount of government possible at every level. And Democrats, and I'm not saying this is wrong, want to use the government to overhaul society in their utopian perfect image. They want to use the government to fix problems. So, I mean, I do think that we're going to see a massive resurgence in nonprofits entering into areas that the government never should have been. And the tax code will reflect that. Obviously, everybody wants to play with the tax code they want something, but they have to take something in order to fix it. And so we're always having these conversations, but I do not see any world in which there will, I would argue that the tax code will be more favorable for charitable giving over the next 4 years, maybe even like substantially so, because that's the real conversation. When the government pulls back from all these different areas where the government is doing all this stuff, and by the way, in most of those cases, the government's incredibly inefficient and just insanely bloated. So as the government pulls back, it is logical that we would incentivize the private sector from engaging in those areas and incentivize people to give to facilitate that. Yes, sir.
You know, now Medicaid, we have probably 100 million people on Medicare, Medicaid, which is price control that the government is putting on the provider system. What happens to the rest of us, employer-based coverage, individual coverage, get cost shifted against. So we're paying 2-4 times what the Medicare allowable fees are for various procedures. So I just, people talk about this, but nothing ever seems to get done. Where we see in the private sector, health insurance, health premiums continue to escalate at an unreasonable level, right? And now we have a situation where we have larger hospital systems, we have larger health insurers, and we're in a situation where there's a lack of competition in the market. So I encourage you, Washington, I mean, you're a pro-business guy, look at these issues. How do we get healthcare more competitive? How do we pay, maybe lessen the blow on the cost shift? And, I know you cover Spartanburg as part of your district, right? We have all these people, thousands of people getting ready to lose access to their providers at Spartanburg because we have this big blow up going on right now. Cigna, Spartanburg Regional Health System, which is getting nastier and nastier. In South Carolina, we have the highest hospital charges in the country. That's a multiple of Medicare reimbursement. So I just encourage you, you can control this, and maybe you can just encourage, Spartanburg Regional Health System to talk to Cigna and try and resolve this.
Sure.
So we don't have these constant blow-ups of people losing access to providers. It's hard enough when you're sick and you need to access the delivery system, but then to sit there and worry about getting balance bill thousands of dollars because your hospital can't get enough reimbursement from the carrier. So whatever you can do.
I hear you. So last year when Prisma had the fight with United, we actually got on the phone with United and we helped facilitate an amicable resolution to that issue. And the head lobbyist for Prisma is the former Speaker of the House, and he told me he'd be happy to vouch that. Oh, we got one more question. All right. Anyways, all right. So yeah, I'm happy to get involved with that. Yeah. But this is the thing. we had a hearing in the Oversight Committee on PBMs, pharmacy benefit managers, and they're always fighting over a penny here, a penny there, because the amount of money we spend on healthcare has so many vested interests, whether it's the pharmaceutical companies, whether it's insurance companies, whether it's pharmacies, doctors, all of them are just fighting for the dollars, and we are out of control. It is out of control. So my whole view is this, like, we shouldn't be arguing over pennies. We need to create incentive structures that facilitate health and wellness, as opposed to treat sickness and delay death. It's as simple as that, but the question is how. And I think we need incentives, carrots and sticks. I think that you should be responsible for poor health decisions. I mean, that's very difficult to go down that path using my compassionate argument. But I mean, if you drink a fifth of vodka every day and then you need a new liver, ooh, that's shocking. If you only eat at McDonald's and you gain hundreds of pounds and you do nothing to stop it, and then you get you get diabetes, you need dialysis. I mean, all of these things are very preventable, very, very, very preventable. The question is, what can you do? My answer is technology. So I get on a scale every day. It tells me what I weighed today. It tells me what I weighed relative to the last time I got on the scale. You can track your weight. So instead of getting a doctor's appointment a year later, you can be telehealth then. Hey, you gained 15 pounds in the last month. What's up? Maybe make some better healthcare decisions. We can also track exercise. I go to Orange Theory Fitness, right around the road. I can show you that I burned 750 calories and I elevated my heart rate for an hour. I can use a continuous glucose monitor to monitor what you eat. I can do all of these things. And I mean, if you can create a system where your premium is reduced, your healthcare costs are reduced, if you are making good health decisions, I think you should receive a benefit for that. And that's the way that we're going to upend this system. But again, the drugs are just out of control. They're just out of control. My dad, I will pick on him. When he came to the gym 8 years ago, he was on like 13 pills. It was cholesterol, then it was blood pressure, all this stuff. And he came to the gym, he lost 35 pounds. And he worked out every day. He went back to his doctor. They did his blood work. They took him off every one of his pills. The doctor did his blood work 3 times because he said, this isn't possible. But it's really weird. Exercise and eat better. And you're not reliant on these pills. And again, that's the burden on the healthcare system. All right. Sorry. You can tell I'm passionate about this stuff. And I mean, we have to figure it out. Healthcare is the hardest one of everything we're talking about. I know how to fix inflation. I know how to, address immigration reasonably. The question becomes, how do we incentivize and disincentivize people from making good or bad healthcare decisions? I got one last question from my friend. Yes, sir. 36. So the biggest question is, what is the appropriate amount of debt? So debt to GDP ratio is the number that most people use. We're currently like 120 something percent. I would argue that somewhere around 50% is probably an appropriate level. Maybe, getting down to 20 if we're humming along, but you always have to be ready because, I mean, right now, if World War III happened, we don't have the ability to borrow. I mean, we don't have the ability to invest in a wartime footing because, I mean, the government is run out of money. So we already have a $2 trillion deficit. And to then say, all right, we got to spend $10, $15 trillion to go to war. Good luck. I mean, it's just not possible. So, I mean, one, we need to have a legitimate conversation about what is appropriate debt. Again, reasonable minds can differ on that. It's not where we are right now, though. And then 2, we got to figure out how to get there. And we haven't even talked about Social Security. But I mean, healthcare is a huge part of it. We have to save Social Security. We have to get our economy back growing. And that requires healthcare to be fixed. That requires good economic policy. That requires a competitive tax code for U.S. businesses to compete in the global economy. We haven't talked about energy prices yet. I mean, the cost of energy is going to plummet. We're going to, I mean, look, he's the king of simplicity. I mean, he'll say drill, baby, drill. But what we're really going to do is we're going to harness our natural resources to increase our national security and reduce reliance on Venezuela and Saudi Arabia and reduce Russia's ability to bully the Europeans because they don't have any energy. We have an enormous amount of resources in this country that we refuse to harness. And we made this huge push to electric vehicles. One of the largest lithium deposits in the world is in Rock Hill. Nobody will even try to mine it because the EPA has lost its mind. So again, we have to protect the environment. We have to protect the environment. But there needs to be a balance, because our ability to continue to be the best place to live in the world is reliant on fixing our debt, is reliant on securing our borders, reliant on making sure that people still want to invest here. It's not easy. It's not easy, but I'm going to keep doing this for 4 more years. I am not going to be an elected official in 5 years. Go ahead and tell you that right now. Jason Elliott, it would be wonderful to replace me, and I'm so happy he's in the Senate. But look, I'm going to spend 4 more years doing this. It's incredibly, it's an honor and a privilege to do it. And we do make a difference, and we will do everything we can to help the government not adversely impact your lives. And my cell phone number is everywhere, but you can just Google it. It actually goes right here. So if you ever need me, just call me. Thank you.
And I would like to donate the first dollar to the Jason Elliott for Congress campaign fund in 2028. Thank you, Congressman. As usual, I'm going to ask you to sign this book. I forgot to do it earlier, but this is a book we donate on behalf of each one of our speakers to Alexander Elementary School here in town, where we have our Teacher of the Month hiding over there in the corner. Sweet. We also missed one guest. It's Bob Bruner, who is just moved to Greenville. Bob, raise your hand there, Bob. Just moved to Greenville from Vermont, if I'm reading the writing on the card correctly. So welcome, Bob. We appreciate you coming out. No worries. No. Oh, okay. No worries. Okay. That's it. So if you will stand and join me in our 4-way test of the things we think, say, or do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?